All right, so in the previous videos, we've gone over how you can pre-process all your data in Brain Vision Analyzer. And once you've gone ahead and done that and exported all of the data from there, you're going to want to be able to import it into Matlab so that you can do some further analyses. So today I'm going to be showing you how you can go from having that data exported in BVA to import it into Matlab for use in Matlab or with its toolboxes like Field Trip. So I'm going to go ahead and open up Matlab. So I'm assuming that you have some familiarity with Matlab here, as in what these different spots in the workspace are referring to. So your variables, your command window, all those good things. And the first, if not, you might want to go ahead and check out some YouTube videos, or Matlab has some good on-ramps where you can learn these things. And once you do have that familiarity, then the first thing you're going to want to do is download the appropriate toolboxes. So we're going to be using some functions that have already been created for you to import your data. So you're going to want to tell Matlab where to pull those functions from. So we need to add a couple of spots to our path so that they can be recognized. So the first one is Field Trip. So if you haven't downloaded Field Trip already, you can just go ahead on Google and go to download the Field Trip toolbox. And then, yeah, you just fill out some information, your name, email address, research area, all that things. It's totally open source, it's free, so then you can go ahead and download that. And once you do, then you can just kind of extract the toolbox to a folder here, and you're going to want to add this to the path. So I'm going to go add path and add this here. Field Trip also likes you to initialize it, so I'm just going to run the function ft_defaults. Another thing I'm going to want to add is the toolbox that has the BVA to Matlab function, which is what we're using to import the data. So to get that, you're going to want to go to the Developmental Neuroscience Lab toolbox, which is the toolbox made for our lab. So you can go to GitHub and go to Jonah Kember, users, and it should be right here. It's a repository. So this toolbox has a bunch of different functions you can use for analyzing data. So you can see something like this, where you provide some input and it provides you with an output, and you can get a description here. And essentially what you're going to want to do is download, just like we did for Field Trip, all of these functions, and you can just extract it to somewhere useful. So I'm going to put it into the BVA video spot. Perfect. It should only take a couple seconds. All right, and I'm going to want to go ahead and add this to my toolbox as well, to my path as well. And you can see all the different functions here. The one we're going to be using is right here, called BVA to Matlab. Awesome. So I'm going to add this to my path as well. And now if I just run these as part of the script before I even try and import the data, then we're going to be able to call upon these functions that we're using. All right, so I'm actually going to go ahead and save this so I can run it. Import data. Awesome. And like I mentioned, what we're going to want to be using is the BVA to Matlab function. And what that is going to take as an input here, let's go ahead and look at it. So that's going to take a file name as an input, and this file name is going to be the location that we used in BVA when we exported. So you'll remember when we initially created our BVA tool or workspace, we created 3 folders. There was a raw data, a history files, and a export file. And so that export file is the location that we're going to want. And we're also going to be specifying the name that we gave the file. So like subject 14, whatever. And then it's going to read that, and then it's going to provide you with a data structure that works in Matlab and that can be recognized by Field Trip. All right, so essentially this is the function. We just want the output data and some file name here. So I'm going to put that right here, and our file name is going to be wherever we exported the data to. So I'm going to start off by copying this. And then it's going to be the name of whatever person we're trying to import. So let's say we want to import subject 14 first, then we'll just type in subject 14 underscore ERP underscore go. Awesome, and that'll be our file name. And you'll remember that when we export the data from BVA, it gives us a triplet of files. So there's a marker file, a header file, and the data itself. Now we don't have to specify these individually. When file name gets read, as in just the file name without the file itself, it's going to go ahead and read all these different ones and provide you with just one structure. So you don't have to worry about the different ones. You just give it the name subject 14 underscore ERP underscore go, which covers all of these. So we can just go ahead and run this right now. And this will, just got to add it to the path. This will bring in and run it through FTP processing and provide us with a data structure that is our data. So we can go ahead and check to make sure that this is what we're looking for. So inside that data that we just created, there's a sampling rate, which is 500 Hertz. That's perfect. There's a trial. This is 128 by 600. This is your data itself. So 128 channels, great, by 600 samples, which this was from -200 to 1,000 milliseconds. So 1,200 milliseconds at 500 Hertz. So 600 is perfect. That's what we expect. And there's also time. So you can see, again, this started at -200 milliseconds, 600 samples long. And there's labels. Awesome. So this is all of our channel labels, 128 of them. So that's perfect. One thing you might want to do once you do import it is to do like a quick sanity check to make sure that this is in fact an ERP and it's something didn't get lost in translation. So what I'm going to do is go into that data itself. And let's say I just want to plot just this first row and make sure that it looks like an ERP, as it should, because it is. So I'm just going to name this one all as an ERP. And then I'm going to plot that ERP against time. So again, I'm just putting this time right here first, and then I'm putting the ERP. And hopefully this gives us a plot that looks like an ERP, and it does. Awesome, that's perfect. So again, this is just at one channel, so it's going to be a little messy. And you can see here that this resembles maybe like an N2. It's from around 200 to 400 milliseconds, and this is the voltage on the left. So this is perfect. This looks just like what we're expecting. And if you really want to double check, you could go into BVA and look at this first channel and see that it is in fact the same for that subject and that condition. But we'll just trust it for now. Awesome. So that's essentially how you can use this function to import data. Of course, the next thing you're probably going to want to know is how can I do this for all my subjects and all my conditions at once without having to do it individually, which would take obviously a lot of time. So I can walk you through that here. So essentially, we're just going to create two for loops that run through all of the subjects and all of the conditions. So to do that, first I'm going to create a kind of a variable that has all of my subject names so that I can just run through it. So I'm going to create this in a cell array with the curly brackets because it's going to be all text. So I'm going to put, well, I could do actually just a regular one, but it's okay. All subs, there is 14, 15, and 16. So I've only got 3 subjects here, so it doesn't take me too long. If you've got a lot of different subjects, then there's some other ways to just make it all at once, but you can just write through all the subject names, and then I would recommend just saving this as a variable and then adding it to your path every time that you want to use a new script, and that way you won't have to write this out, and you'll just have a nice handy variable that has all your participant labels. And I'm going to make one for condition. I'm going to call this go and no go. Awesome. So this is all of our subjects and all of our conditions. And then again, like I said, I'm going to have 2 for loops that run through all of these. 1, 2, I'll run my conditions first, and then my subjects. All sub. Awesome. And now all I need to do is change up the file name so that rather than just calling on this one subject, we want to call upon whatever is in here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is erase 14 and put something else. And I'm going to erase go and put something else. And those things that I'm going to put are going to be indexing into condition based on whatever part of the loop I'm at. So that's going to look like, oh, actually, this is going to be the subject number. So all subs, and then I'm going to index into it with S. And then here, I'm going to go condition, and then index into it with C. And essentially, this should, let's see, if I say that C is 1 and S is 3, then this right here, file name, oh, I didn't define the subject and conditions first. So file name is BVA video export subject 16 underscore ERP underscore go. Subject 16 underscore ERP underscore go. That's perfect. That's the file name that BVA to MATLAB, the function, wants. So we're good to go. So now I can just run all this and it will run the function and import all of my data for each of my subjects and for both conditions. So I can go ahead and do that now, but the other thing you're going to want to do is save it every time. So instead of just rewriting the data structure, you're going to want to save it every time. So I'm going to go in here and just use the save function. The second thing we're going to want to be saving is that data right here. And the first is going to be whatever name we want to give it. So I'm going to call it subj, and then I want to do, oops, maybe go into it with S again. Let's see, I should do this subj. So very something similar to what we did up there, except this is just renaming it. And then I want to call it subject 14. Let's put an underscore. ERP. And then the condition. You can name this whatever you want, but this is kind of a handy way. Let's put more underscores so it's cleaner here. And let's check out what that is. If I have C equals 1 and S equals 1, then just to double check, define the variables again. So we're going to be saving it as something called subj underscore 14 underscore ERP underscore go. That's perfect. And it'll just show up right in this workspace here. And then if you want later, you can go and move them all, or you can specify different file locations. So you save your, maybe your go condition in one, your other condition in another file. But just for now, this is fine. So now I'm going to run through all this, and it's going to pull each of my subjects and each of my conditions and run that through the BVA to MATLAB function, and then save the result, that data structure, into here. So I should end up with 6 different variables that are MATLAB structures. I should also add here, I'm doing it with ERPs, so we only have that one trial. But if you are doing some time frequency analyses, then when you go into this data, rather than having one trial, you'll just have as many trials as you do, and the function works all the exact same ways, so don't worry about it too much. And Fieldtrip can recognize this just as well as it recognizes the ERP. All right, so that worked. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 subjects here. This is all of our ERPs. So I'm going to go ahead and open one up, this guy. And yep, there's our data. Awesome. So this is everything we need. And you essentially now have a structure, a variable in MATLAB that can be recognized by Fieldtrip. So you're good to go if you want to do further analyses with some of Fieldtrip's stats. Or you can now also use the data itself. So again, this is just channel by time, and this is all the ERPs. So you can just go and directly do some analyses with this data yourself. Maybe you want to name this as ERP, and then you're good to go. Maybe you could save that as well. Awesome. So hopefully you now understand how you can go about getting all of your data uploaded into MATLAB. Thanks.